All right. To revisit that, this is something that you have to know for the exam. The other thing you have to know for the exam, because I wasn't recording, is functions of the pancreatic hormones. Well, what are the four pancreatic hormones and what are their functions? And a lot of students, they remember insulin and glucagon. They don't remember somatostatin and pancreatic polypeptides. So you got to remember those as well, right? So there you go. That's question one. And then I'm jumping back here. Question two, this whole process. What I did not write in before renin, what I should have wrote is that low blood volume, low blood pressure is going to stimulate the release of renin, and then we start this process. It's on this slide here, right? So they're saying things like dehydration, hemorrhage, sodium deficiency. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead and just talk.
All right. Not to stop you, but can you repeat what you had said? You said about love. I mean, low blood volume and what else you said? I was trying to write it down.
So right here, before renin, what causes the release of renin? What starts this whole process? Low blood volume and low blood pressure, which is like the same thing. Low blood volume is low blood pressure. That's going to cause the release of renin, and it starts this process, and the process is going to end with the secretion of aldosterone. Aldosterone is a mineralocorticoid. Aldosterone is going to be released from the zona glomerulosa, and this is what it does: causes your body to hold on to sodium. All the blood pressure medications are stopping this process. Right? If you have high blood pressure, you don't want to make aldosterone because you don't want to hold on to sodium. So you want to stop this last bullet point from happening. So we could come up here to the second bullet point and we can stop angiotensin converting enzyme. That's what one class of medications does. So you could stop it there, or there's renin inhibitors. You can stop it all the way at the beginning at renin. They're not as popular, but so that's the second question. So far we got two questions that are going to be on there. I'm not even going to say like maybe. The pancreas, I don't know, maybe. This will definitely be on there. This is the second zone. And this is just a review again, but this is the second zone of the adrenal gland, of the cortex. So this is the middle one, the zona fasciculata. Right? So I'm not going to ask you about the third zone. I'm going to ask you about the first two. So the first one, we just covered it with the renin angiotensin. So I won't ask you about the zone. I'll ask you strictly about the whole process of like how renin is converted into angiotensin 1, and then it's, how we end up with, at the end, aldosterone and raising blood pressure. This is the second zone. This one is influenced by ACTH. So ACTH, one of the pituitary hormones. So you remember there's 7 that you have to know, whatever, FSH and LH. One of them was ACTH. That goes down to your adrenal glands. When that hormone gets to your adrenal glands, it goes to that second layer, zona fasciculata, and causes the release of steroids. And these, I've listed here what steroids do. So immunosuppressant in high doses. So people that have had transplants or people that have autoimmune diseases, they might be on a high dose of prednisone or something. If you take a high dose of it, it suppresses your immune system. Helps us deal with stress, mental stress, physical stress. You'll see it a lot with its anti-inflammatory capacity. Especially older people, they get inflamed shit all around their body, and they're always in pain. So, shot of steroids works wonders. It's like a much better version of, or you could take pills, right? It's a much better version of Advil. They call Advil like NSAIDs, non-steroid. It's like a class of medications that's not steroids but still anti-inflammatory. And then these three at the bottom, which we've seen more than once. Increase the amount of glucose. Another way I could have said that is, I'm going to type it. Increase glucose availability, aka glycogen breakdown. Means the same thing. And why? Why does your body do that? I'm just going to write it. I know you guys all know what the three letters I'm going to write is. Lipolysis, that's breaking down fat. We use all that ATP to put the amino acids together to make some kind of protein, right? So you want to increase the amount of amino acids that you take from your food and the amount that you use. That's the material. And then the energy is ATP coming from your carbohydrates. That's the breaking down glycogen, and coming from fats, breaking down lipids. And so those are the 6 functions of steroids. And if I ask you to write it, I'll just ask you to list it. And that would be good enough. So now we've got 3 questions. What is the function of steroids? List the function of steroids. Question 2, describe or explain the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone pathway. That whole thing. Start with the reason that renin gets released and end with the solution to the problem. The problem is low blood volume, low blood pressure. So that would be like up here. The solution, increase sodium retention, increase water retention, increase blood volume, increase blood pressure. So that's question 2. That's question 3. That's question 4. The medulla produces epinephrine. You want to increase your heart rate. You want to, again, same thing, lipolysis. Why? Because we're going to convert it to ATP. Increase blood glucose, aka break down glycogen. Why? ATP. But the ATP here is different. It's not to fix something or to build something. It's to send all that ATP to your muscles so that you can fight or flight. And what I did not mention, but you should kind of know, we'll talk about it again. Epinephrine constricts your blood vessels. All right. So this was where we talked about beta blockers. They block they block epinephrine receptors in your heart. There's different types of receptors for epinephrine, and it depends on the place and it depends on the type of receptor. So beta receptors, um, beta blockers are blocking beta receptors. Beta receptors are for epinephrine for the heart, and you want to keep the heart from beating fast because your blood pressure is high. So you want your heart to beat nice and slow. So, fourth question. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All written out in black and white. Does it end there? No. Never ends there. Oh, I didn't put it. 5. Before we go into 5, let me just look at let's look at something really quick. The function, because we didn't talk about this, the function of thyroid hormones. It's down here. And look at some things coming back. Look at the bottom one. Stimulate. Let me make it a full slide. Stimulate lipolysis. Stimulate protein synthesis. And then up here, increase use of, so we're back to messing with the sugar. Why? To make ATP. Messing with your fats. Why? To make ATP. And then increasing like use of amino acids to make protein. Just like steroids, different reason. This is thyroid hormones. This is just metabolism. Like you need to grow shit. You got to grow hair and skin and fingernails, and you got to make whatever your body's making, antibodies and stuff like that. So you need the proteins, right? This is all about just maintenance. So you're doing the exact same thing, but for a different reason. Human growth hormone does this to grow, right? Steroids do this to fix things. Thyroid hormones do this to just maintain your life. Epinephrine does these two at the bottom, right? So now you got 4 hormones doing the same thing. Epinephrine does these 2 at the bottom, not this one up here. Oh wait, I'm sorry, hold on. Not the protein one. It does the glucose and the lipolysis. It does that also to send that down to your leg muscles so that you can run away from the snake. So same, that's kind of what thyroid hormones do. They increase your body temperature. They just increase the use of oxygen, because if you're going to make more ATP, you're going to need more oxygen. So it's not like a big deal. We could forget about this one up here. And then, as you know, the first thing that we knew about T3 and T4, they increase your metabolic rate. They increase metabolism. This is question 5, which I'm going to make a new slide and I'm going to write it out. I first want to make sure you guys are here. At least some of you are here. Somebody's here. I know I'm here. Can't believe I left the meeting. All right. So let me go back. Still being recorded. All right. Back. All right, I'm going to make a new slide here. And I'll just type it out. Which means we'll work through it together. New slide. How T3 and T4 made. Step 1, we trap the iodine from the, so we call that iodide trapping. So you're going to pull the iodine from the blood. What pulls? I should say the follicular cells. Follicular cells pull iodine from the blood. That's the first step. I'm going to put the second step in this same one. Then deionize the iodine and put into colloid. There. That's the first step. Take the iodine out of the blood, remove the charge. That's the deionize it. Remove the charge, remove the negative from it, put it into the colloid. Step 2, follicular cells are making thyroglobulin. That's the protein component, right? Because T3 and T4 are made of iodine and a protein. You put them together. So the follicular cells pull the iodine from the blood. The follicular cells are also making the protein. That goes into the colloid too. Next, TGB and iodine form T1 and T2. The T1 and the T2 are going to couple to make our final product, T3 and T4. Last step. Exocytosis. That means you're going to put something out of the cell, get rid of it, put it into the blood. Exocytosis of, spelled exocytosis wrong. Don't tell me. Exocytosis of T3 and T4 onto I'm thinking thyroglobulin binding globulin because so that's the transport protein. Because the thyroid hormones are lipid soluble and steroids are lipid soluble. The rest of the hormones are water soluble. Right, so this one you can't just drop it into the blood. Right, and I was saying in class, like you spit the hormones out. I mean, yes, but that's we're calling it exocytosis. So that's what's happening here. Right, so if you follow this slide, step 1, iodide trapping. Here's the blood. Here's the cell in yellow. Here's the blood in red. You're pulling iodine out of the blood, but it's charged. Right? So I just kind of skipped ahead to somewhere where you deionize it. Anyway, it gets deionized. And then at the same time, these follicular cells are making TGB, thyroglobulin. And they're putting this TGB into the colloid as well. So here we are with the TGB and the iodine, and they're mixing together. They're making T1 and T2. T1 and T2 couple to make T3 and T4. The cell is going to take it back in from the colloid and through exocytosis put it into the blood. And you can see there's your T3, there's your T4, and they're on a transport protein, thyroxine binding globulin. but I've got it written out here. So this is question 5. R made, but whatever. All right, that's question 5. So there's the colloid, there's all the follicular cells, right? You'll see that in lab. Is that my last slide for this? Oh, it is. So that's part 2. Question 6. What is the function of PTH or calcitonin? But let's do PTH. Well, they're both here. PTH stimulates osteoclast activity, meaning the osteoclasts are going to go in there and break up bone. Right? So PTH stands for parathyroid hormone. It's made by the parathyroid gland. So it's going to break up bone from the break up bone and release calcium and put the calcium into the blood. So PTH is raising blood calcium levels. And there's 3 ways that it does it. Way number 1, stimulate osteoclasts. So the cells that are going to go in there and break up bone. 2, increase vitamin D absorption. These are 2 separate things. So 2, increase vitamin D absorption, because the more vitamin D you have, the more calcium you have. They work together. Vitamin D and calcium are together. So you might have heard that vitamin D is for bones, right? Yeah, calcium is for bones. So you want to increase the amount of vitamin D that you have, and you want to increase the reason I put absorption here, you want to increase the absorption of calcium from your food, because you don't absorb all the calcium that's in your food. You can absorb different amounts, like more or less, depending, right? So PTH is going to make you increase the amount of calcium you get from your food. It's going to increase the amount of vitamin D that's made available, and it's going to increase the osteoclast. Calcitonin does the opposite. So you could just take this line right here and you can just say the opposite. Inhibit osteoclast activity, decrease vitamin D, decrease absorption. So calcitonin just does the opposite, which I put as much down here anyway, didn't I? So PTH and calcitonin that's another example of a antagonistic hormone. They do different things. They do opposite things. PTH is going to raise blood calcium. Calcitonin is going to lower blood calcium. And just to remind you, parathyroid hormone is made by the parathyroid gland, and then calcitonin is made by the parafollicular cells. So not the cells that make T3 and T4. Those are follicular cells. So that's question 6. Now I got to open up my other. So does anyone have any questions while I open up the other PowerPoint? Well, I want to save this one because I added to it. Don't ask me for the PowerPoint because you want to be like extra lazy and just study the black and white stuff. Okay, hold on. I'm opening up the other one. Share my screen. So we have 6 questions so far, right? Anyone got anything different? I'm going to be about a few more minutes because these other questions are going to come from your quiz, so we don't need to spend like a bunch of time on them, right? I'm just going to say what they are, and then we're going to wrap things up. So if you can't see the PowerPoint, let me know. Circulating versus local hormones. So circulating hormones go in the blood. Local hormones, either they're autocrine or they're paracrine. Paracrine are secreted and acted on by a nearby cell. Autocrine by the same cell. That's a question. Question 7. Question 8, hormone interactions. There they are. That's a redo. Question 9, your old friend, the mode of action of hormones, which a lot of you remembered the lipid soluble just fine, but not the water soluble. So go in and spend some time with the water soluble hormone, because that's question whatever we're on. 8, 6, 6,
9.
8. That's 9, right? This is 10. Either I'll ask you it this way, or I'll ask you it that way. So if I ask you about the release, the anterior pituitary hormones and what are the releasing hormones, I think I did that on the quiz. Just put those. If I ask you what the anterior hormones are and what are the cells that make it, you put that for that. That's 10. But I'm not done. That's 11. What does describe what antidiuretic hormone does and oxytocin? And I think I asked that on the quiz, and I think you did fine on it. One more. A total of 12. I'm going to pick 10 out of these 12. Last one. Upregulation and downregulation. So that's it. You got all the questions. I'm going to pick 10 of those, and you know what they all are. You know what the answers are. You just got to write them out and kind of get them in your head. And that's what we're going to do first thing Wednesday. So don't be too late on Wednesday, because once the first person hands in their exam, then it's over. The exam's over. If you're not there, yeah, go ahead.
What did you say 7 was? I didn't catch it. It kind of went fast.
I actually know that one. 7 was this one, local versus circulating hormones.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'm behind. I'm going to start blood on Wednesday. I'm going to try to do the whole chapter on Wednesday. It's going to get easier. Blood is an easier chapter. So just study your ass off for Wednesday. Do well on this first exam. Then we're going to move into some easier material. All right. If you have any questions,
You're gonna this?
Yeah.
Okay, because my headphones weren't working again, so I missed about the first half.
I got it recorded. If you want to hang out afterwards, we can do that too. And
Okay.
Ebony, what do you got a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, did you get my text message?
That you sent like just now, maybe? No.
Oh, I sent it this morning around like 9 something, I believe.
No, I didn't get it. Did you send it on Remind, or did you send it by like regular text?
I responded to the message that I got from you when you texted me about the lab change.
Oh, here you go. You got a different number. It's like a North Carolina number, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yes. Yeah, do that. 15. What do you need? 15 minutes?
Yeah, 15 minutes. That should be fine.
All right. Good.
All right.
So we're starting at 8:45, everybody, tomorrow, right? Not 8:30. It just seems like everyone can get there easier when it's 8:45. I don't know. There's something about 8:30 that makes it hard for people dropping off kids and stuff. So, all right. if you don't got any questions, the rest of you are free to drop off. Because I'm going to hang out with Demi for a few minutes.
I have a question too. So,
Sure.
well, you said never mind. You said it's recorded, huh?
Oh, I can stop recording it. Wait, hold on. You just reminded me to shut this down.